I meant to get around to it, but I never did, so here I am now, talking about what we've done to the ATV so far. You can definitely tell that we've done quite a bit to it. The entire suspension has been taken off. The front shocks are perfectly fine, they're actually over here. This is one of the few pieces that's staying completely stock. The rear one we're not entirely sure of. It may have just had some scrap metal in it, or we might actually need to replace it. We're going to check it out. We think it's going to be just fine, though. We were also able to get the rear axle off. It was a complete pain in the butt, though. We will be replacing it, though, because we think that the bearings just might be bad in it as well. Here are the bearings right here. And basically, all that's left of the ATV is the engine itself. This dude right here. So what we're actually going to be doing today, later on, is we're actually going to be clearing out that table because it is a huge mess. And then we are actually going to take apart the engine. So we will plan on taking apart the engine today. So that's pretty exciting because once we take apart the engine, that is basically the last of the dismantling. And we have basically everything we need to rebuild the ATV. Here's all the parts in here. There's some more coming. So what our plan is obviously the first thing we're going to do is clear out the table, take apart the engine, and then when we do that, we'll clean all the pieces off because this thing's actually pretty dang dirty. And then we are going to start assembling the engine, the new engine. Once we do that, we're going to start putting it back together with all the new parts and some of the old parts. The brake, we're pretty sure is staying on it. So is the oil tank, obviously. Here's the oil tank. We made kind of a mess. Well, I made kind of a mess. That was disappointing. This thing's not being entirely replaced. Basically, like, very few of the pieces are actually staying completely stock. Most of the things, the exhaust system, obviously the engine, the crankshaft, the brake lines, basically everything makes the engine go, or makes the thing go, is being replaced. The only thing that's part of the engine that we're not replacing is the transmission. We had to look at it, and the transmission is actually perfectly fine. The fact with the engine, though, that the engine itself might actually be just fine, which is kind of funny if that's going to be happening, because there are some possibilities. Here are the two possibilities. The engine might either just be in horrible condition and no longer runnable, or functional, or there just might be a piece that got loose, and that's why it won't work. Which that's the reason it's gonna be kind of funny, but we're still gonna, rebuild the engine because we got a heckin' beast. So this is what remains of the current ATV. There's gonna be even less today, but I'm not gonna record that part. Now what else I have to take off of is the engine after we clear off the table, and then obviously we're gonna clean all the pieces off. So I'm pretty excited for this. Pretty excited to get this thing all back in shape again, all working even better than before. In the meantime, though, I'm just going to be using Betsy. Okay, here's all the pieces we've taken off, and not all of them. There's some of them up there as well. Okay, so update. We were able to get the engine off and take a little bit of it off, and here it is. I think we found one of the reasons why the engine wasn't working anymore. Here is part of the piston. The bearing has been completely destroyed, and yeah, this thing is in no running condition anymore. If we go over here, though, we have this. So here's the original piston head. As you see, it's completely broken. The part of the piston's actually gone, as you can clearly see. You can see even inside of the piston head, as well as the fact that the bearing has exploded and is completely missing. So when we got a new part for it, obviously, as I have said, we are rebuilding the engine completely to a much cooler engine. Here is the new piston head, and here is the original size compared to the new size. Yeah, thing much better. You could literally put this thing over the original piston head if we wouldn't take out the package, which we're not going to do that. So here's part of the engine. Like I said, the piston head is, well, piston head, there's no such thing as piston head, but the piston is completely destroyed, completely unusable. It is no longer functional.